What does it cost to build a luxury storage facility like the one I'm at right now in 109,000 square feet in size and over 135 doors? I'm going to break it down exactly in this video, what the land costs are, what the soft costs are, what the hard costs are, and what all that means. I'm also going to break down exactly what revenue that this thing can bring in each month and why we're scaling this all around the nation. All right, first things first, what does the land cost? That should be your biggest question on anything. And since this facility is one story, and it can only be one story because we store bigger things than these, we have heated storage and just cold storage behind me. We also have condo shops. We need to be at one level. So we need facilities somewhere in the 5 to 10 acre land. This facility we're standing on is about 8 acres in size. And we can put on about 109,000 square feet total in storage and condo shops. The total cost of the land for this project was $1,050,000. And it varies in size, but we can only pay so much for this land. We're not in the middle of the big city. We are outside in the bedroom communities, the suburbs, the places where you can actually accumulate land. If I show you on the other side, the most important piece of land is exposure. Well, when you have 100,000 cars drive by each day on an interstate being the primary point of access to the bigger area, it gives you a lot of exposure, it gives you a lot of organic marketing. So we paid $1,050,000 for the land, and then let's get into what the soft costs are in here. And I'm talking about this facility in all is almost $10 million. So we got about a little over $1 million in land, we got $9 million in hard and soft costs. So the soft costs, you got architect, costs about $15,000 for the random drawings, architect needs, the different styles of buildings we have here, costed us about 15,000 bucks. Then you have engineering. We're talking about the drainage ponds, where the water runs to, the storm sewers, the groundwork, the concrete, making sure everything slopes nice. That we have about $65,000 to get that engineering and the survey done. Then we have property tax and insurance. So we have to have different insurances while we're covering the property. We have to pay some property taxes, unfortunately, while you're just building. That's at about $19,000. Then you have a developer fee. In any deal, somehow you have to make money. And since we are the developer, we have a fee of 5%. It's about $360,000 of this deal. Then you have legal and accounting. Guess what? To raise money, to be able to do things with partners, do things right, it's gonna cost you some money for legal. Don't skimp out in this category. It costs us about 15 grand. So then you have holding capital during construction. We do different variations of this based upon the project. But in this project, we have normal holding account reserve account set at 80 grand, and that climbs and builds every single year. Then we have signage and monuments. Of course, with this type of project, you want to have good marketing. You want to take exposure to the interstate. You want to have the cars understand why your facility is the best. You want to have it easily accessible, whether it's a phone number, a QR code, whatever that is, a recognizable brand. So that way people trust your facility. So we include $15,000 for the bare minimum for most marketing. And then you have contingencies. You have things from 1 to 3%. And usually we figure some contingency into the construction. We also figure out some contingency into the development. And since we were able to get a lot of this development, we didn't need a big contingency in this project. We only had 1%, but it was about $75,000 of just purely contingency. And then we have financing expenses. So this is also included as the business plan. As we're building a large facility like this is gonna take you 6 months for sure to build a facility like this, if not 7 or 8 months. Well, then it's also gonna take you time to fill all these doors. There's 135 large bay tenants. These rental units start at 600 and they go all the way to 2,500 for these condo shops. It takes time to find those tenants, to place them. And even if you do fill the facility really fast, you end up having some turnover. So it takes time to turn it over and stabilize the income on the property. We have that usually set at about 18 months. Or, about 2 years from start of construction to the end of stabilization. So with that type of thing said, figure out 2 years for your business plan. And that's really what cost us about $470,000 because it costs us interest to pay all the things. And of course we have utilities to pay during those first 2 years. So with all that, it costs us about $470,000. It's a big piece of the soft costs when you're building. So all in all, with development fee and everything that you need in order to build and the soft cost for this, we have about $1.1 million it takes us just to be able to take this from construction and get it all the way built and stabilized. All right, let's talk about my favorite topic, construction. I've spent years, my entire life since 6 years old in the world of construction. I love it. I love to find a competitive advantage of how to make reduced costs, build things more efficiently, and bring a lot of value to my investors and bring a lot of value to you. So let's talk about the cost to build this thing. And the hard cost is around $7.4 million to build 109,000 square feet of storage. And so the Division 1, general requirements. So this is the management. This is what it takes, everything that you don't understand about building. The garbages, the porta potties, the management to build the thing is really what it costs. And that's about $445,000 just in management, just in the things that you don't see need to happen just to get the project put together. And then you have concrete. I poured concrete literally since 6 years old as well. I love concrete. That's why most of the facilities you see I build are concrete. Why? Because there's rebar in it. It may crack, but it isn't going to shift around and move all over like asphalt. And I don't have to paint it black and put tar down and have that continual maintenance. I instead will have this type of concrete for a long time. And there's nothing worse in the storage world of replacing things that you don't have to. You want to keep your expenses low. Concrete is the best for that. And so $685,000 interior concrete it took to do this site. So we have 12 buildings on this site, and it was about $685,000 for all the concrete. Well, then you have woods, plastics, and the composites. So you're talking about all the wood that we're talking about to put these projects together, the bulk of the project, some of the steel, everything it takes to erect it is about $3.3 million of the entire project. So just to build them is $3.3 million. Well, then you have plumbing. Plumbing is a smaller piece. It's really just in the condo shops. We don't have any plumbing in these facilities behind you. It's all in these condo shops. And for, what is it, 3, 6, I think there's 11 units total here. It's $176,000. And in HVAC, again, we have heated storage units. We had some heat in here. It's about $339,000. Electrical work. Everything has electrical. They have powered overhead doors, lights, outlets, different things in these condo shops. That was about $815,000. And then you have excavation, right? And that's really the beginning part of the project. But just to move dirt, we had to dig ponds, and there's different things that you have to do for regulations nowadays. You got to hold your own stormwater. You got to make sure things flow right. And the dirt work alone on this site, 8-acre site, costs us $530,000. Well, then you have exterior improvements. That's the concrete we're standing on. That's some of the exterior subgrade that needed to happen around the facility. That alone was $670,000 worth of concrete. That doesn't make us any money, but it provides you a good way, a good clean path to your unit. And then you have utilities. Obviously, we got to bring in water, sewers, storm sewers to the condo shops. There's not a lot other than storm sewer we need for the rest of the facility, and that cost us about $240,000. And then you have different taxes that we had to pay in order to get the facility built, pay for all the material. Just in taxes alone, we pay $135,000 on this facility. All of that together, you're at about $7.4 million to build a facility like this. Now, that's cool. We're all in at about $9.8 million to build a facility. Now, I couldn't fathom this when I was little because I never thought building a 10-minute filling, because I figured you'd need at least, what, $3 million just to build a facility like this. How are you supposed to get, it would take me an entire life savings, maybe 2 life savings in order to build that myself. But we were able to, have a premier product like we have here with MegaMax Storage. And build a brand around it. We're able to raise some money for the project with investors. Remember, when you're in real estate, you're using other people's money. But I couldn't have fathomed, even 8 years ago when I was just starting my development career, ever doing something like this. Honestly, storage is a very boring asset type. I like the boringness of it. Boring makes money. I keep things as simple as possible when I build things now as a developer, because I'm continually develop when most developers have been sitting on the sidelines. And so raising money has been a big part of trying to do facilities and trying to put together development deals and things I didn't understand 8 years ago. So if you want to know more, make sure you go on markkuhn.io. That's my website. We have courses on there that you can actually subscribe to on how I put these developments together. But I'm just trying to break down the cost for you so you understand a little bit more about what I'm doing. And the last thing is really the NOI. How does this thing brings in about $1.5 million in top line revenue, so in total rents. Our expenses, they're about $350,000 per year on our pro forma, and thing brings out somewhere between $700,000 and $750,000 before we pay any debt, right? That's if we owned it debt-free. We get paid about $700,000 to $750,000 a year to own this property. Now we do have debt on it. Debt takes about $550,000 of that, leaving about $150,000 a year in cash flow. As debt gets cheaper, we're hoping we can lower our debt number. Maybe it's $400,000 in debt payment. But the fact of the matter is we're able to borrow debt. We're able to build this in a hard economy like we're sitting in right now. You have to be able to build at a cap rate that makes sense. If you're building at a cap rate, meaning if you borrowed zero debt on this and we're collecting $750,000 a year, that's about a 7.5 cap rate. And if you were building a facility that only provided $500,000, well, you could hardly borrow any debt because you need $10 million in order to build the facility. So if we had the $10 million in cash, we'd collect $750, that's a 7.5% return. Most people can do that, and we can actually borrow some debt, because when you're borrowing, so if we're collecting that $750, say you're borrowing at a higher interest rate than 7.5, say your interest rate's 8%, you're at negative leverage, right? It's costing you money to borrow money. But now if you can borrow at 7, 6.5, now you start to have some leeway between the cap rate and your borrowing rate, meaning it makes sense for you to borrow money because you're gonna actually make more on the project. And really what makes these projects tick. So guys, I just wanna share, this is obviously very broad information. I would, if you wanna get in more and develop, make sure you follow me. Like, subscribe, share this with somebody. These facilities, I was curious myself on how would you get something like this built. I would not know this 8 years ago. I wish I would have known it today. So if you can share this with another developer or share this with someone who might be interested in partnering with us on a facility like this, we're partnering with people all over the nation where we're providing our knowledge, our brand, and helping them have their facility in their market. So guys, I will see you in the next one.